Everybody smile. Webinar is now live. We'll wait here just a few seconds. Folks are coming in, it looks like. Good morning, Bruce. Good morning, Kevin. Jeannie, all right, people are coming on through. Good deal. We're successful. All right, folks, we're going to get started in just a few seconds. Letting everybody get through the virtual door.
Cool.
All right, Commissioner, I think we're probably ready to get going.
Great. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Happy Saturday. It's a gorgeous day outside. And so I know you could be out. I mean, I would be out hiking too. I will be tomorrow, but I just want to thank you all for being here today. I just really appreciate your engagement and participation. I'm Jody, Shadduck-McNally, Larimer County Commissioner for District 3. And I keep saying this only because I'm so proud of it, the first woman to ever serve in this seat. And very excited to be here. And I'm joined by my friend and our Loveland Mayor, Jackie Marsh. And I'm so grateful for her participation. And I'm grateful for Michelle Bird. I'm going to not get this right again. Our Public Information Officer or Director, Coordinator.
I have many titles, Jody, and that was one of them. So
cool.
Thank you.
And Michelle and Baby Yoda are going to help me facilitate any information I might need to convey to you today. There's so much happening. It was a long day, so I have a lot to share with you. So I see some hands already raised. So I was hoping as I could give you just some updates and let have Mayor Marsh give us some updates. I'll let her share our field trip yesterday, so I won't talk about that. I'll let her share about that. And then we'll just take some questions, and we're trying to get these events going. We had really successful large ones last month, and we're learning how to get these kind of out there and engage with the community. And we're going to keep them regular, but we're going to also evolve them. I know other folks are used to how previous boards have done this, but we want to be more engaging and find how we can help you understand how important county is to your daily life and how the county works hard for you. If anything, this pandemic has shown how critical county government is to our daily lives. And so I want to share about that, and also share about the collaborations, like we have the city of Loveland, which I'll be going in front of the Loveland City Planning Commission on Monday and speaking to them, and some other things. So I just want to use this as a way to help us have these collaborations, great conversations, share information, and then also listen. I want to listen to you about your concerns, what's going on in your neighborhoods, what questions you might have. And we'll do these virtually right now until we kind of get through this pandemic, but I'm hoping this summer that I might be hanging out at the farmer's market, taking questions. I might be setting up a commissioner's little table at the Cherry Pie Festival or something. We'll figure it out. We're going to do things differently. And we're just kind of listening to you about the needs and how you like to have conversations or get information to you. And the wonderful Michelle Bird is helping us kind of brainstorm and think about different ways of doing this. So for now, we'll do these monthly. I'm doing one in Estes Park on March 18th at noon, and that crowd loves that time frame. So we're kind of staggering these with all the other commissioners. There's one at 7:30 up in the Wellington area with Commissioner Kafalas. There's one at Wednesday evenings with Commissioner Stevens. And so we're trying to find times where people could join at any time. And you're welcome to attend any of these, because they're informative, and you can always ask questions about anything from any of the commissioners. Even though we are live and serve in our districts, we're voted by the whole county. So I feel like I represent the entire county. And yesterday I would probably travel through half of the county yesterday, which is great. I loved it. I could get outside and look at things. So just know that I have the highest regard for Commissioner Stevens and Commissioner Kafalas, and of course Mayor Marsh. And we want to just we're here to work hard on your behalf and serve you. So any of us have great information, and you can attend any of those sessions that fits your schedule. It's so great to work with my colleagues on the board. We knew each other before we walked in, and just having all that information is and rapport already. We've been working very hard. So I'm just going to share a few updates. We've done a lot of things, and it's not even been 60 days. So, but some things in the last 2 weeks I wanted to share since our last conversation is that we have updates with the Behavioral Health Center. We are doing some branding and working with an outside organization that's talked to already about 400 people. And those folks have been interviewed about what kind of name or branding for this new behavioral health center that we broke ground on in December. And those folks are talking and seeing how we can brand this so people see it as this community center, this resiliency hub, a crisis hub for those in need, and not just some of those other terms that I won't say because we don't want it to be thought of as that. We want to make it sure it's a community campus for helping us with our behavioral health needs. And so we're having conversations and knowing that we've already talked to 400 people with lived experiences and throughout the county and elected officials who have been involved and people, emergency room docs and firefighters and paramedics and all those folks are all having some input into this. I think it's a great, great tool and I'm looking forward to my interview next week. So we, as we were looking at the budget, some of the construction costs and some other things have risen up quite a bit. And so there was kind of a budget gap because of what we have collected, what we had budgeted, and what the costs of due to infrastructure needs have changed. So the commissioners knew that there was a couple of really critical services, especially the behavioral stabilization unit or crisis stabilization unit was looking like it might have had some cuts or some changes in those services. And we as a board, that just was not okay. So we voted to increase out of some reserves in that fund with the taxes, about $4.5 million. Is that correct, Michelle? And so we voted to put that towards making sure those services are going to be there at that center. So right now it's going to be that one main building for the Behavioral Health Center, but it's going to be in the long run a campus. And everyone throughout the whole campus will have other buildings and hiking paths and the labyrinth. And you can find all of that on the behavioral health website. There's a master plan and drawings and things like that that you can see. So that's one thing that we did the last couple of weeks. And then we also, this week, doing a lot of work as fast as we can with our wonderful emergency manager, Lori Hodges, who is really well respected here in the state and across the country. We're very fortunate to have such an amazing, outstanding emergency manager. And we're working on the emergency watershed protections. And so we had a presentation on the risk assessment of the areas that they have looked at that are at highest risk for the county, because unfortunately, having the most historic, largest wildfire in the Colorado history, there's a lot of needs, and with the rains coming and the runoff, there's a lot of risk and dangers with that. And so we want to kind of put our money and our efforts towards the highest priorities that are most at risk. So we had that update this week, and we looked at those assessments and we applied for those emergency watershed grants through FEMA and other organizations to look at debris removal, stabilizations of the slopes and the soils. Here's the word of the day again. It's been the word of for about 3 weeks and I'm laughing because we all seem to be focused on this word, hydrophobic soils. And it's really an interesting science to know with that burn scar, how the soils change so that they don't absorb the water. And so when it comes down in rain, even a third of an inch in less than a half hour can cause a flash flood. And that sediment and that sludge. And if you haven't seen the video of like a black river coming down out of the High Park fire, then you might want to go and see what we're trying to work hard to prevent and protect our water quality. So the county applied for these FEMA grants through the emergency watershed protection, and we have a match with the county. We had set aside, the previous board had set aside $9.2 million for this recovery fund. And Michelle, you can correct me if I get any of these numbers wrong, because I'm still learning a lot, but we voted to match those. Part of the grant system with the FEMA is matching by 20%. And so I think we voted about $1.47 million to match those grants. So to make sure that we work as fast as possible for those watershed protections. Next thing we have is part of that, which I want everybody to understand. I find this very fascinating, that part of that $9.2 million is that we have to replace all these culverts, which is expensive. And if you haven't seen that, then understand that when you find out they were spending $6 million on culverts, it is because it's so critical, and it's not covered through FEMA and other grant things that we can go for. This is a cost that we need to get moving because it's so important for the runoff and for the debris removal and trying to make sure that roads don't get washed out. And so we'll be working on that, and there are, again, working in those risk assessment areas. And so that documents also, I believe the risk assessment is on the website. It was presented this week in our work session. So if you'd like to see where that's at, please take a look at that. There's lots of details there. Next thing we're talking about is, well, let's see, where should I go next? Vaccines, let's talk about that. I just got an update this morning. We hit 70% at the end for the goal for the end of the month, which is huge and great. And I'm so excited about that. And so now, because we vaccinated 70% of our 70 plus folks, that now we can level up down to blue. But that makes sense. Part of the level up program, which I feel that we were kind of leading the state with what we developed with our level up program. And now we're down to blue. So our businesses and our restaurants can operate at above, is it 50% or higher? I think it's higher than that, correct, Michelle? It's more than 50% of capacity.
I think so. I think all the level changes kind of throw me off a little bit,
yeah,
but I think you're right, Commissioner, and I can see if I can.
Yeah, the dials change. With all kudos to the state, I know they're working so hard, but the dials change weekly sometimes, and I appreciate the updates they give us, but some days I might not be up to the latest level. But very excited for our businesses. But I'd like to make sure you all are still very aware of that there are lots of variants out. The variants is appearing in our neighboring counties with an outbreak, and they're more contagious. So I need everyone to make sure they're still masking up and being careful, social distancing, washing your hands, especially if you haven't had the vaccine, because it's still out there and still very dangerous. We want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and our neighbors and helping us do our part so we can make it through this with least amount of deaths and sickness and illness. So that's something to celebrate. It's the first time since the pandemic, for months, we had no deaths in Larimer County. Huge. We had no deaths for a week. That's so wonderful. After we had such a high level through November, December, January, it's just wonderful that we have no deaths. Something to celebrate. And I want to thank the public health department for all their work and everything that they're doing. So another thing that I wanted to share about the hard work of the Economic Workforce and Development Center, partnering with the Department of Health, is they found an innovative way the past couple of weeks to apply to get another extra percentage of the vaccines that was set aside for equity. And so we came up with a plan that was approved through the state, and we got an extra allotment of doses for our county that will be specifically targeted to our BIPOC population. And that's happening today. Yay. So we were partnering with the BIPOC community this week, and thank you for their partnerships and their ideas and their outreach. And we were able to get 300 of the 1,000 doses that were allotted to this week. In 2 days, we got 300 folks in that community signed up, and they're being vaccinated right now, which is really cool. I've got pictures. And so there's 55 of our Department of Health workers are reading this. And they're inviting me to come out. So maybe I'll head out there.
And Commissioner, can you just explain, everyone might not know what BIPOC means.
Oh, I appreciate that. Black, Indigenous, people of color community. Thank you for, I use acronyms. I'm trying not to do that. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I think that's great. Anyway, so they're telling me, come out. So I guess I will. They're doing one. So they've already done 100 people in 30 minutes this morning. That's either one person a minute. That's how we got the system set up. So once we now have the vaccines, we're able to vaccinate them as fast as possible. So they've been working very hard to have this process, and they're ready, just waiting for the vaccines to come in. So I think that's all um, great news. So sorry that they're texting me. I'm getting text messages constantly. The other thing I want to share with you is our oil and gas regulations that we've been working very hard on. And we had an open house this week. We are going to extend the timeline. We do not know exactly the dates on that timeline, but we're looking at July and August to extend it for final adoption. That's not finalized date, but it's something that we're moving from April to the end of the summer. And we've had a lot of discussions. We're almost having weekly discussions. And we had this open house on Wednesday. We had quite a large crowd. I attended and listened. I didn't participate, I just listened. And we had a lot of great feedback that folks felt like they had a chance to give their input and talk about things. But what we're having to do with this is a state, if you know about Senate Bill 181, all counties have to be at the state minimums. And the state finally updated their base minimums last year, and we have to all raise our regulations up to those minimums. So those minimums, there's about 2,000 pages of documents, I think, of changes. And so we are working very hard and bringing out some outside help to help us get those updated and regulated. And it is, I think I can say, because we have as a board stated that we'd like to look at what areas we can go above the state minimums, which we can as a board of county commissioners. So we're doing a lot of work in that possibility. At the same time, we're working on our new code adoption for phase 2 and looking at a new sign code adoption. So that's all happening at the same time as all these other things. So there's a lot happening. And I just wanted to share some of that with you because it's very important. And one other thing that I'd like to share, that I'd like to maybe talk to Mayor Marsh about doing a special session about the ranch. Lots happening at the ranch, which is in the city of Loveland in this district. And I helped work on that ranch tax back in 2017 because it is a jewel and a crown in the crown of the county, in the center of kind of that busy growing area of northern Colorado. And besides all the other activities with the county fair and rodeo, we have the 4-H building, we have the Eagles play in the Budweiser Event Center. There's a lot going on there. And if you think that it has sat empty during the pandemic, you would be wrong. There has been so much. They're doing a vaccine trials. They're doing testing, COVID testing. They've been doing vaccinations. During the fires, we housed all of the evacuated animals to the point that we had so much going on there between large animals, small animals, volunteers storing hay. We had the emergency backup hospital that the state leased out for a while in case we overran the hospitals. I could go through the whole list. There's been a lot happening. That ranch has been hopping.
Well, and Commissioner, we even used it for some jury trials too, because that way they could spread out and actually keep the system moving and not back up the court docket. I thought that was a very creative use of the ranch out there.
And thanks for reminding me of that, because I forgot about that. Would you mind? Yeah, tell me, why don't you expand? Because I know we've also been doing jury selection for the courthouse in the bottom of the county building across the street below my offices, so we can just help trying to help those court systems have the space they need. So why don't you just share about that a little bit? Because that was, I keep forgetting that, but that was really huge that we were able to do that.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have too many more details than that, but I know that they were really worried about backing up the docket because the rooms that they have over at the Justice Center are fairly small. You know, they pack a bunch of people in there for jury selection. And they were worried about doing that, of course, during COVID. And I don't know, I want to say it was maybe last fall sometime that someone had the idea of, hey, we have those big rooms out at the ranch. Why don't we do some jury selection out there so that we can get some of these jury trials moving and not held up? And so as far as I know, they're still using it out there at the ranch to do some jury selection and keep people spread out. Because you know how, well, I've never been on a jury. That's like my dream in life, is to be on a jury. But you know, you go in and there's a ton of people at the beginning and then they whittle it down. And once they kind of get down to their 12 or whatever the number is, then they can go back to the Justice Center. But I think that was a great use of the ranch in a in a way many people wouldn't have thought of, or myself, I wouldn't have thought of. So they were really thinking outside the box.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the point, thinking outside the box and utilizing our county service, our county, resources, which is the ranch, is to help us meet the needs of what we have going on here in the county. So we're going through the process. We're starting to do our request for proposals for work on at the ranch, where we're going to be changing the 4-H building, increasing some show rooms for the horses, and maybe people can drive their RVs or their horse trailers and park there and be able to stay on site with their horses. There's all these plans happening, and I wanted to just kind of do an update in case any of you didn't get to watch it during our work session, because I think it'd be great for the city of Loveland to understand how much is going on out there, and the economic impact. The numbers for the economic impact are mind-boggling. They are really huge.
Jody,
So I'd like to see if, I'm sorry.
Jody, they're still planning an aquatic center and ice skating rings, correct?
Yep, that's part of it. So we can do that update, and I'd love to have all of you get those updates and get those numbers. And so I'm hoping we can maybe do a special session where everyone can come, and I'd love to have you there, Mayor Marsh. And so that's one I want to work on. So you can understand, since this is the city of Loveland and it's part of your tax money, I just want everyone to understand all the work that's happening there. I will be in front of the Loveland Planning Commission on Monday to talk about the process and the documents that we're having in front of the Planning Commission that's related to the ranch. So I look forward to that on Monday. So, and then we'll be in front of City Council, Mayor Marsh. So I'll see you there. So anyways, there's plenty going on. I keep asking people at the county, is this normal? And they said, well, actually, this is kind of abnormal. We have a lot going on, but we have the pandemic and the wildfires and the recovery. So I love my job. I love working hard on your behalf. And yeah, I'll be taking tomorrow off to go hiking, but I'll probably still be back home working on my emails and reading my documents for the week. But just want to know that we're all really doing all the work that we can. We have a lot coming up with the land use codes and the regulation changes. And we're just doing the best we can to get up to speed on all of that and make sure that we're being comprehensive and doing everything we can to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our residents, and also considering all the factors that are involved with all that to make sure that we're making the best of informed decisions we can. So with that, Mayor Marsh, would you like to share any information? Then we can take some questions.
Okay, sure. Happenings in Loveland. Last Monday, we held our first city-sponsored, city-hosted town hall, and the topic was metro districts. And so our staff gave a brief but a good presentation. 41 attendees attend our town hall. So we broke into breakout rooms, and it was a listening session. It was not one for the counselors to do the majority of the speaking. It was for us to do the majority of the listening. So I can speak to the breakout room that I was in. A lot of concern from citizens living in metro districts in Loveland about how high their taxes have been, have gone up. One woman, was sharing, I think it was just the metro district portion of her property tax was over $3,000. Her total tax bill was over $6,000, I think about $6,400. And we heard that from a number of people, how high their taxes have become. Heard that from them that they didn't feel that they were properly noticed. Several said they hadn't received any notice. We had a counselor ask about, well, when did you buy? And the person indicated in 2018. He said, well, you should have gotten a notice then, because the city has a disclosure form. And, she indicated that if it was shown to her, it was in a stack of other documents and not pointed out, what her debt would be. Also comments about lack of control, that they weren't consulted about, what was happening in the Metro District, and some people knew enough to understand the slave master district relationship. So I think it was a good listening session, and we are going to be doing on April 13th. We have a panel of experts coming in to kind of the next step of the discussion on Metro districts. So that anybody who wants to tune in on April 13th. Last Tuesday, we approved the extension of fee waivers for development called Wilson Commons on the northwest part of town. It is a development that was approved, I believe, in 2007 and has been extended before. One of the problems for them has been the lack of water out on the northwest part of town. Developers work together with our city to work out a way to put in a water pump station and storage, which will allow both water and water pressure. So that is going to allow a number of property owners to now start developing. But the Wilson Commons includes 59 homes that will be affordable. 59 of about 290 homes will be in the affordable range. Prices are expected to be between 240 and 270,000. So it's Aspen Homes that will be doing the development. So we're all very excited to have, I mean.
Where is that located at?
It's Wilson, and I want to say 50th to 57th, and that it's the northwest part of town. And the problem is it's uphill. So we've had trouble getting water because our utilities doesn't go that far yet. So same thing with 402. When you talk about starting to develop 402, as you go further east towards 25, we don't have, the utilities in there yet. And so it's very expensive. In this case, with the Northwest, 5-6 developers as well as the city kind of came together and agreed how to pay for it. Let's see, other things happening on this coming Tuesday. Our study session will be covering diversity and equity and where we are today in Loveland and different counselors' view of where we are and what things we as a city might do to bring about equity in Loveland. And so it should be an interesting discussion. Jody alluded to it yesterday. She and I and a lot of other people went to the ribbon cutting for the Northern Colorado Law Enforcement Training Center. It's a facility that's been in the works for, I'd say, a decade, thereabouts. It's a state-of-the-art police training facility. A 50-yard shooting range, indoor shooting range, a driving track. In the future, it'll have hopefully some other like simulation rooms and things like that. It was just under $18 million, cost shared evenly between Loveland. Other law enforcement agencies, I think there are about 45, that have indicated a desire to rent the facility when Loveland and Fort Collins is not using it. Of course, Larimer County Sheriff as well, Jody and Michelle will be using it. So there's classrooms for training. You would be able to have like a SWAT team or police cars be outdoors doing the driving track, and the doors to the inside of the shooting range could be open, and you could literally drive right in, jump out, and simulate a real life scenario. And they can turn the lights off and it is pitch black. It can be pitch black, and then they do the strobe lights just like if a police car pulled up in the middle of the night, and you get to see what that is like. And it's an amazing feeling to realize how vulnerable you feel when you can't see around you and you don't know if somebody's armed or not. It's it's an interesting, but a really world-class facility. Up until now, for our police officers, there's been an outdoor range near the dam literally, started in 1968. So to have a world-class training center in Loveland, jointly paid for by Fort Collins and Loveland, is a really big step up. So very happy. Hopefully we save lives, public and law enforcement. So that was a great ribbon cutting. Attended one of Congressman Negus's Summit wildfires, and a lot of information, what they learned about mitigation had been started around red feathers in different areas, not completed, but started. And when you look at like an aerial view of the fire, and you're kind of up at those areas that were mitigated, and it kind of snuck around the sides, but it does show that mitigation, and if you think about global warming and probably more fires coming, the more we learn, the faster we learn, the better, so that we don't have the fall that we had this last fall. But there was a woman from Rocky Mountain National Park that was one of the speakers on the summit, and she made a comment which probably didn't mean much to her, but it meant a great deal to me. And that is that Rocky Mountain National Park is the #1 tourist destination in Colorado. Why I care about that is I'm a proponent for pushing tourism. A lot of cities, when you think about, how could we increase our revenue and help our businesses, you think about that you have to spend a great deal of money to attract people to come to your area, get them to leave New York or Chicago or San Francisco or whatever and come. We already have that happening. 4.7 million people visited Rocky Mountain National Park in 2019. So if we could, address how do we tell those people what there is to do in northern Colorado. Of course, we want them to still visit the park and Estes Park, and absolutely. But people typically have a whole week. They want to know what else is going around, breweries and art galleries and music venues. And all of that helps your local businesses, and your local businesses then spend more in our community. It's a huge opportunity. So to find out that, Rocky Mountain National Park is the #1 tourist attraction in Colorado is yes. Let's go for it. Let's see. So I told you about the diversity coming up. We are still working on a vote towards the flavor ban on tobacco. That has not been, we've had one reading where it passed, and then it was basically tabled while we get some feedback from businesses, which we now have, and then from students and their parents. So that will be coming back in the next couple of months. Loveland is also dealing with the definition of family. So if you think about throughout our development code, we refer to single family, multifamily. It's written throughout our code without really a definition of what a family is. And it's coming up under the context of how many unrelated people can share a residence. Right now we are the person plus 3, and our planning commission recommended we go, well, not our planning commission. Well, I guess, yes, they did approve it, but the development department was recommending you plus 4. Several people on the council, including myself, question, why does it matter if people are related? Why do we have that requirement versus, how many bedrooms? I mean, if you have a 4-bedroom home, how many people can live there, or square footage? So that's what we're kind of grappling with. Some of the concern is parking, but I don't think it matters whether you have 4 teenagers or 4 unrelated adults. I mean, you can all have cars. So it's a hotbed. It's a very active discussion we're having on. I think I've covered what I would want to share. So I'll be quiet now.
Great. Thanks, Mayor Marsh. It's all great information and also tied to a lot of the goals and strategic objectives that we're working with at the county. Couple things I'd like to add. I attended that wildfire summit too with you. It was phenomenal. Our emergency manager, Lori Hodges, presented. And yes, you're right. It did show a lot of the mitigation efforts that we have been implemented in the county have been working. And so one thing I want to share about that is we have these huge recovery maps that shows where all of the losses were, where the work is. They're very large, and we had those placed on the wall in the hallway right outside my door. So we asked for that to be put up. So one picture I have lots of, I've been saving up for a while, and I've gotten some local Loveland artists and other artists art in my office, and also have a nice picture of Rocky National Park. So when I walk out the door, here's my picture of my favorite hike in Rocky, and then there's all the maps. So we always are keeping ourselves up to date, and it's always in my front of my mind for the Cameron Peak wildfire recovery, because it's really important to me for a lot of reasons. As you know, behind me is Rocky Mountain National Park, Lily Lake, and I love to hike up there, and been looking at the burn scar up there in Rocky. One other ththing I'd like to share real quick, Michelle, because it was really cool. You may not think so, but I did a tour before I hung out with Mayor Marsh at the Northern Colorado Law Enforcement Training Center yesterday. It's long word. I went on a tour of the landfill with Commissioner Stevens, and then we went up to see the new site for the new landfill, and we drove along the proposed truck routes for the transfer station. So we did a lot of driving yesterday, but and you know, you wouldn't think that going to the landfill is something you should think about. There's a lot going on there, and we're getting ready. We're trying to get the new landfill ready so that when the old landfill needs to, the life of the landfill needs to come to a close, that we have that buffer and we can easily transfer over to the new system, which is going to be a little different. But one thing I want to be a shout out to, we have a new solid waste manager, Dwayne Perry, correct?
Penny.
Penny.
Close.
And Jeremy also, I now don't know Jeremy's name out at the landfill, but they've been working really hard. Dwayne's very, very new, like less than a month, but Jeremy's been there a couple of years. And I have noticed lots of changes there the last couple of years that I'm like, wow, that looks different. How they're doing that differently. And actually it's saving the county and taxpayers a lot of money. And one thing I learned about yesterday I want to share is that he uses this drone with this outside firm, and they fly up and take a picture of the landfill, and they take kind of a GIS or look at how much has been filled in there and how they've changed the ratios of how they compact it and put soil on top, which is different than we've done in the past. And because of that, he's been able to squeeze out some more what they call life or airspace of the landfill using these drones, which is saving us a lot of money. And it gives us a little bit more time for getting ready for the new landfill, because there's a lot of permitting and things happening with the state. And we did have our first state inspection of our recycling center ever this past week. They came in, it sounds like it went well. And so there's a lot happening there, but I thought it was kind of neat that we're using science to better contain and see how much life we can get more out of the landfill. And because of that, they've been using that technology on the new landfill site. And so the new landfill, and I think I can say this because I don't know if it's public or not, but we're doing not just a 30-year plan for the new landfill, but at 102. We figure we can do a 102-year life plan for that new landfill, which is great because we don't want to have to keep building landfills. How can we maximize that and be good neighbors and good stewards of the taxpayers' money with using these facilities, which are important, and we don't realize how important a landfill is until you need it. But just so you know, if we have another wildfire, another huge hailstorm, one incident could take 6 months off of the life of the landfill due to shingles or debris. And we're doing everything we can to try to be recycling, doing construction and demolition, separation and work. And there's a lot going on there. So that was a fun tour, but I just thought I'd talk about the technology that they're using, and that is actually a good resource and stewardship of your taxpayers' money and our resources. So anyway, that was, it doesn't sound like it's cool, but I was very impressed.
Yeah, and I would say too that not surprisingly, I understand this, but whenever we do our community surveys, the landfill is one of the top services that we provide in terms of importance, what our residents think are important to them to provide that service. And you know this, Commissioner, because you were part of Larimer County 101 a couple years back, we do a tour of the landfill, and it's always everybody's favorite night. And I know the landfill loves to give tours. My point is, landfill loves to give tours, and it's fascinating. I mean, it really is very cool, as you were mentioning. So if anybody ever wants to do a tour of the landfill, they love to do tours. Just let us know, and we'll get you hooked up.
I think that's a great thing to say. It reminds me that they have a lot of recycling, and you can take your hazardous pesticides and old paints and things like that there, and they'll take care of that and properly dispose. And they've been doing a battery, making sure that you properly dispose of batteries. So please go on that website and look at that campaign. They had where they had the students help with the marketing and the campaign, and that was very successful. And actually, it was some of the people now working in the landfill went to school with my kids. It's so cool to see them working for the county. And they had a really successful campaign, and they made little stickers for the kids to be able to, use for the, hey, I was part of this campaign. And it's actually got some national notice, and some national organizations are going to be copying what we did with that program recently. So that's really exciting work, and it's a great campaign. And if you haven't seen the picture of the fire truck, or not the fire truck, the garbage truck that caught on fire because a battery caught on fire inside the trash, it is important, and it does happen. And it is something we need to be good stewards and be responsible folks, and responsibly dispose of old batteries. So it's a great campaign. Thanks to all the great employees that came up with that innovative idea, and engaged our youth, who really love if you haven't been out to the garbage, garbage garage, check it out. It's a lot of fun. So I've been there a few times with my kids on field trips. It's a really cool place. So.
And you can have a birthday there.
I did not know that.
Yes, you can have your birthday party at the garbage garage. There's a kind of an age of little kids where they love trucks, right? Kind of that 2 to 3 year old age where they love the big trucks. And so that's a perfect place to see a lot of big trucks moving around. So they do birthday parties too.
I did not know that. I'm going to remember that. So I have a birthday coming up, but I'm not sure I want to have it in the garbage garage.
Me
but
too.
I'm not sure I will be having a birthday celebration. I might just be going, having a nice meal at home, but still with the COVID restrictions and threat out there. So anyway, thanks for sharing that, Michelle. So we've been talking a lot. I'm hoping you find any of this information helpful. So anybody have any questions? I recognize everyone that's here today. I'm hoping you will ask a question.
And I'll just say, folks, you can either put your question in the question and answer box. That's kind of down at the bottom of your screen, just like the chat, or you can raise your hand and actually talk to us, which is great. I like actually hearing people's voices and pretending like we're living in normal times and interacting with each other. But I'm trying to fill time while you guys articulate your question and raise your hand. Really quickly, while people are thinking of their questions, Commissioner, can I make a plug for the Environmental Stewardship Award nomination?
Yes, please do.
Which we have nominations right now until March 28th is when that nomination period is closed. And if you yourself maybe is deserving of a nomination, or someone please nominate them for Environmental Stewardship Awards. I think we're on our 28th year of our Environmental Stewardship Awards. So it is a long-standing program here in Larimer County. And I will put a link to the information in the chat box right now. And then the other thing I kind of wanted to plug is boards and commissions, Commissioner. I know this is close to your heart, and we have openings right now. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, how important our boards and commissions are.
Yes, thank you, Michelle, for reminding me that, like I said, there's a lot going on at the county right now. We have over 30 boards and commissions, and believe it or not, the new commissioners are looking at maybe adding 1 or 2 more new ones. And these boards and commissions, one might be a youth one, which it would be near and dear to my heart, because I think that's an important voice missing. Well, we hear it, but to formalize it. And these all are great resources to the commissioners because they dive deeper into this discussion, and they bring their experiences and their passion to those areas. And it's really something as a commissioners, we serve on certain liaisons, and I serve on the behavioral health liaison, open lands liaison. I'm Office on Aging Advisory Council liaison, which I served on that for 30 years. I served on Loveland Human Services Commission. Did I say 30 years? 3 years, sorry, 4 years. Sorry about that. And then, and I served on the Loveland Human Services Commission for over 3 years. And these are really important work, and is really needed because there's a lot of detail work, and it's valuable for the commissioners. I could go in, every commission's different, but they're very, very, very important. And I'm so grateful to everyone who does serve and provides their input and work in those commissions. And I think Mayor Marsh would also say how important they are. And they're all on the website, and we really need folks to apply. There will be some openings on the Planning Commission coming up in the spring. And that's a very, it's a lot of work there, but it's very, very critical for, especially with the land use code adoptions coming. But there's some that only meet once every 4 months, and there's some that meet once a month, and there's some that only meet when needed. So it's exciting work. I love attending those because everyone is so passionate and works so hard and has a heart there. And I appreciate everyone's service. And it's great, great to see everyone engaged in the community. And I feel like, local government, especially county government, impacts your daily life, and it's where you can see the most impact, and you can actually see your commissioner or your city council member, your mayor in the grocery store, and get to talk to them about the issues that matter most to you. And you can also get involved and make a change in your community. And I've done that myself with legislation at a local and a federal level that impacts our communities. And so this is where you can really make a difference and make sure that your values and your voices are heard. And I think it's, I can't say enough how important this is, and I'm hoping that you'll consider signing up. If not, and a friend who's got a passion in one of those areas, to encourage them to sign up. And it's a really quick process. I know that they ask you a lot of questions, but it's just the kind of process we use for everyone, but it's worthwhile. And we try to really before COVID, we really like to do some nice things for the people that serve. Like we gave last year, everyone that served on a board of commission got a nice Larimer County mask, just to say thank you. So really important. So I know these folks on these participating. I know you guys have great questions. Actually, I probably asked pretty hard questions. So I'm hoping one of you will raise your hand. So.
I wonder if we can guilt them into questions. I used to have a really good skill when we were in front of real people, somehow guilting people into raising their hand, and I'd just stand there awkwardly and say, we're not going to do anything until someone asks a question. But it doesn't work as well on the virtual platform.
Okay, let's do it this way, Michelle. I know you usually do surveys. Jackie raised your hand. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add to what you were talking about, boards and commissions. They're all open to the public. So if somebody is thinking about, well, I might be interested, but I don't really know what it entails, you can, if you go onto the City of Loveland website and go to our boards and commission, you'll find the schedule, and they typically meet the same day and time of day every month. Usually they're once a month meetings, but you could go attend one and see whether it is something you'd like, or go do another one before you would actually apply to be on a board or commission. I'm not sure how the counties all work, but in the City of Loveland, some of the boards and commissions are really critical to deciding what the city council even looks at. Open lands and parks and rec and our affordable housing. With limited dollars, the city has to be selective. We can't fund everything. So those boards and commissions, are reviewing it and giving their input, and in many cases, giving a thumbs up or a thumbs down on one project over another. And so that's what ends up getting, communicated to the council. And they are critical roles. And so if you do have a lot of concern or interest in an area, jump onto one of those boards and commissions. You know, the city of Loveland, if you count our downtown development and everything, we have about 20. But everything from disability to seniors to housing, you know, check them out and, you know, we'd love to have your input.
Thanks, Mayor Marsh. I couldn't said it better. They do make a difference. So, and they're highly valued. So, so if we have just a few minutes and no one has a burning desired question, I'm going to ask you a question. We, you know, I shared a lot of information. We do so much every week. We're moving a lot of stuff at the county level right now, but I'd much rather also address the topics that you're interested in. So our next month, I'm going to try to do this separate one on the ranch. I'm not sure when that will happen, but I will have some guest speakers, and I know I'll try to make sure Mayor Marsh can be there. But I want to make sure, you know, Loveland and the southern part of the county understand what's happening out there, because there's a lot changing. And I want to make sure you have all the information that you need to understand how your taxpayer dollars are being used out there. So tell me the topics you'd like for us to do for the next couple of sessions. Do you want to keep getting updates on the Cameron Creek wildfire and the COVID recovery? Do you want to talk about the behavioral health progress? What, either type in the questions in the chat, or you can email me, but we want to make these sessions and community engagement helpful for you. If you want to have me just sit here and give updates, I'll do it. But I don't mind that. There's lots to share, but I also want to hear from you. So I'm hoping that you'll email me, call me, text me. I have a county cell phone. I have my personal phone, my county phone. So you can text me on my county phone. I've been texting back people back. I respond to constituents as fast as I can. My emails kind of filled up the last 2 days because I've been out on field trips, but I will try to get back to you. If you don't, call me out and say, hey, you didn't respond. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So I hope that you, if you have some ideas, I'd love to hear that. And also if you have ideas of what you think we should be doing for community engagement. So like Michelle's working hard because we want to do something kind of innovative and engaging. And so she's been doing a lot of kind of looking at exemplars and best practices other places. And so some things are going to be changing the next year. So feel free to contact me anytime, but Sundays when I'm hiking. So
not then, Commissioner. But yeah, I'm always open to, as you said, I've been trying to reach out to some different communities and see what they do differently, and how they engage with maybe different populations that don't normally engage with local government. And so if you guys have any ideas, we're not the masters of these things, and a lot of times those ideas that really get momentum come from outside the organization, right? You guys just have a different lens than we do, and that's really helpful when we're thinking outside of the box. So and we do see, and I think Commissioner McNally, Shadduck-McNally has a good point. We see more engagement too when there are like specific topics of interest. So you guys are the ones that would know what's important to the community too. So let us know what you want to talk about. And as the commissioner said, she'll work to get the right people on and get your questions answered. And it sounded like Mayor Marsh had a great, that town hall seems like it was maybe the poster child for a good special session there, Mayor Marsh.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few engagements, so that's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people care about metro districts. I think it was surprising, how many people attended.
Mhm.
Very encouraging that people will
Great.
attend our town halls. And
That's
those metro districts, can have a big impact on people's finances.
They can. I will say that when we were shopping for a house a couple years ago, and I live in Loveland, and we looked at one in a metro district, and it was, you have to be conscious of what's going on there, and they don't necessarily, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of times it can be hidden what the real impact is. So I'm glad that you guys are doing that work. That's really good because it doesn't always come out.
So to anybody shopping for a home that's considering, a metro district, any metro district anywhere in the state, One question that I would have is, okay, the price of the home is X amount, let's say 400,000. You know, see if you can find out how much debt is owed for Metro debt for the infrastructure. The Metro debt is your roads, your sewer, your lights and things that were formerly paid by the developer. And that portion was added to the price of the home. And now in a Metro district, they split it out. So you have the mortgage for the home, but then there's the additional debt for all the roads inside, lights and water and everything. So if you were able to ascertain what that amount is, then you know it's 400,000, sometimes as much as 60,000. Could be as low as 20. But what is that number, so that when you're comparing it, when you're home shopping, then you would have the ability to compare it to a home that's not in a Metro district. And of course, then you have to measure the amenities and everything that you get as well. But, you know, for my own, you know, who I am, I want to know, what am I really paying for that house? So for me, it'd be the house, and the debt for the infrastructure is the information I would want to have.
That's a really good suggestion. I've never heard that suggestion before. That's a great
Sometimes
suggestion.
it's hard to find out how much that debt is owed. And
Sure.
if they plan to build another 200 homes and lay X amount of miles of asphalt or cement or whatever, how much could it go to?
Mhm.
You know, and that would allow you to make a more informed decision. So it's something I'd like to see added to our disclosure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. That's good information to know.
Well, I'm going to honor everyone's time, and I'm
We
going to
only
head
have
up.
3 minutes left anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everyone for participating, and I'm hoping that you'll consider coming back again and look for that ranch update special conversation coming up. I'm not sure when that will happen. I would say we're having the next month and a half, because a lot is happening, and I want to try to gather some information and get the right people there so we can answer your questions. So with that, I want to just thank you all for attending. Again, March 18th at noon, there'll be one with Mayor Marsh, or not, excuse me, not Mayor Marsh, but Mayor Wendy of Estes Park. And I'll be up there having a meeting with her next week too. And so want to encourage you to, if you'd like to attend that as well. A lot of the topics, as you can see, are countywide. And so there'll be some information, and we're going to be probably talking about the comprehensive plan that's starting up in Estes that will involve some efforts along with the county. So that will be a great topic as well. And we'll probably, there's lots of things that we'll be talking about from Estes. So, but exciting things. So thank you all for attending. Mayor Marsh, thank you so much for being here. I so enjoyed attending yesterday with you, and what a great collaboration, showing how regionally, when we work together, we can do great things. And I think this is really going to help also meet the needs of the changing ways we do law enforcement and public safety in our communities. And I think this is a great new facility and tool for helping with that. So so with that, of course, they know my device.
I know, right?
He's available, caller. But anyway, I just want to thank you all for being here. I really want to encourage you to reach out and talk to me anytime. And thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Baby Yoda. It's always great to see you. And great as always. Yep, Gargu, and have a great day. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Be safe.